Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Hauk.
And I'm Maddie Grace Webben.
And today we will be covering the second half of Crusader of Centy for the Mega Drive. But before we get to all of that, how was everyone's week?
I got a new computer.
Hell yeah.
Y'all know this already, but I'll tell it for the listening. I got a new computer, and it is a fancy 2022 model MacBook Air with the new M2 chip. It's the lowest, the lowest tier of computer, but it is also the latest of the lowest tier of computer. And wow, jumping from 2015 to 2022 is an insane jump in quality of computer, I've got to say. Yeah. And I dropped that money because, as I mentioned before, there was a big difference between the amount of money I'm getting from insurance for my last car and the amount of money I spent on my next car. And wouldn't you know it, I was still spending the money before actually having acquired the money, not like running out credit, just like my bank account was going down. But just today I got the check in the mail. I can't actually cash it because it has my dad's name on it. But it's also going to my dad because me and my dad co-owned the car, so he's going to cash it. The point is, if I got the check, he probably also got the check, or he'll get it tomorrow or something. So I'm gonna have it's really cool to be able to spend some money. It's not, as I've said many times in this pod, I've spent most of my adult life being pretty dang poor, so being able to just drop $1,300 including tax on a new freaking computer feels nice to be able to spend the money, and it feels nice to have the thing, right? That's about all I'll spend. There's one or two more things I want to buy. I'll give myself a little bit more money to spend, but that's about it. Me and my girlfriend are really going to treat ourselves to an extent, and then save most of the money. There might be one or two other small things I'll get for myself, but like Kali is going to spend like over $1,000 on all kinds of little things. I'm sure clothing and maybe things for the office and all this shit. Whereas I'm just like, no, I'm blowing most of it. I am spending it all in one place, very literally. So, but I decided before this whole car thing ever even happened, I was like, once I'm in a good place financially, I'm getting a new computer. Like I've wanted to do this for like a year now. So. Second thing is, a friend of mine visited, for a few days, and this isn't like last time where a friend visited and then we fell in love and we're girlfriends now. No, this is just a friend visited me. Okay, it was normal.
Wow, how untrans lesbian of you.
I know, right? Anyway, it was really, really nice. And not only was it nice in a lot of ways, like we went out to a bar, met some of my friends. I will say that this friend did end up hooking up with one of my other friends, so it was still relatively trans lesbian. It just wasn't me they got hooked up with. It was someone else, and it was not subtle. I may have contributed a little bit to helping, but it's chaperoning, but like the opposite of chaperoning, where you're making sure that they get up to trouble. Anyway, point is, the reason I mentioned all that is Racing Lagoon is the greatest video game of all time.
Is the fan translation done?
Yeah, it is
done for a while.
Yeah, well, it has been, but there was some recent news where like a different version of it dropped, or a version that played better dropped, or there was some recent news that made it where my friend previously could not have played the game and now she can. I forget what it was exactly. Maybe the old version just like ran like shit or something. Holy cow, though, it rules. Something y'all might not know. So Racing Lagoon is a racing game from Square's weird period, where they were extremely high on life. They were extremely high on being the RPG kings in the mid to late 90s, and they decided, what if everything was an RPG? What if we made Resident Evil but an RPG? What if we made a racing game but an RPG? What if we made they did a few others that I can't remember right now. What if we did a fighting game, but an RPG? They were like the glory of leveling up and equipment and numbers going up and elaborate anime plots. The idea that you could do that for genres that weren't strictly JRPGs Nowadays that's passe, but back in the day it was crazy. Um, so anyway, yeah, it's a game where you race. It is literally a racing RPG. It's like more than you think it is. It's not like you race like a racing game and you have stats. It's like you have a world map, which is a little miniaturized Yokohama, and it's kind of like the little miniaturized New York in Parasite Eve. It looks the same, actually. It's beautiful graphics. You drive around this miniaturized city in your car, and when at nighttime, and when cars with their brights on run into you, you have to have a random battle, and the random battle is that you race them.
It's amazing.
Like literally, it's like traversing the world map having battles, except the enemies are on field, and when you hit them, it goes to the battle screen, which is they just replaced the battling with racing, and you race them, and when you beat them, not only do you get experience points, but you actually don't. The experience points don't immediately do anything. The experience points are more like money, and you use them to not buy, but you spend those points to steal items off of the car that you just raced. And it's like pieces of the car. So if you run into a car that's a big honking truck, you get to steal the body of that truck, and now you're a big honking truck. And it might interest you to know that this game was written. And the main thing is the game's narrative is it is like a fucking it's a yaoi light novel, but instead of boys, it's racing. But like we're talking lines like, after my first night racing, I didn't know what had happened, but I knew I wanted more. And and that's like not even nearly as explicit as it gets. I can't think of more explicit lines, but it's just like people talking about like the burning in their soul and how this new world they've entered is so confusing, and the bond they're forming all these men to get together at night. I mean, you literally you have secret signals as you drive around the city. Like you flash brights at each other, and that means, hey, let's go race our cars secretly, right? Like it's the most homoerotic thing I've ever seen. And it's extremely over the top and beautiful. Here's the thing. It was written by, I forget his first name, but Nojima, aka FF13 guy.
That's amazing.
It was his first credit. It was his first writing credit, was this fucking game. And the music is by FF102 person. And it's like all and it was also produced by Akitoshi Kawazu. And producer usually just means guy who writes the checks. It doesn't really mean like made the game really. But I gotta say, the fact that your car and your sort of identity is constantly evolving, not just getting new abilities, but literally becoming completely different vehicles based on taking those things from your enemies. That is very much like a Saga-ass mechanic. Like, yeah, that's like being a mutant in Saga and eating the enemies that you just fought to become them. Like that is some Saga-ass shit. Anyway, we spent a decent amount of time playing that game when my friend was over. So just thought I'd throw that out there. It ruled, and it is enough of an RPG that I think we should play it. I think we should consider playing it sometime.
When the fan translation dropped, or that update, whatever, when it was in the news for its fan translation, we were like, yeah, we should definitely 100% play this game.
Yeah, I believe I remember that conversation, but now that I've played a little bit of it, I'm like, oh my god, like we're fucking playing this game at some point. It's fucking sick, and the driving mechanics. It doesn't drive as well as an actual racing game made by a company that knows how to make racing games, but it also races pretty fucking good. Like it is fun to play. It is a bit hard. It's kind of really fucking hard, but it's pretty friggin' fun to play. So yeah, shout outs to Racing Lagoon. Shout outs to Square of the mid to late 90s for being extremely just balls to the walls weird, and coming up with game concepts that are so dumb that no one has ever attempted to do them since. But it's great.
Also, on that note, please, everyone who likes action RPG, JRPGs, go buy Star Ocean here in a little bit, because Square is testing the waters to see if they should do this shit again, and they absolutely should. There are so many, like, C-list JRPGs coming out that like only a Square that's trying to do what the shit they did on the PlayStation 1 would approve, and we need to let them know this is a good idea.
Anyway, a lot of things happened in my life, but they're all just like fun shit. So I just wanted to make sure I focus on new computer, friend visited, and Racing Lagoon. So that's it for me.
Nice.
So the name of the writer of Racing Lagoon and the person who directed the Final Fantasy XIII trilogy is Motomu Toriyama.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah, I was getting my people mixed up.
Yeah. Just wanted to make sure we shout out the right person, because wow.
Yeah.
What a resume.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And again, it's really obvious, like not just the fact that it's like homoerotic or whatever, but like the vibe, a lot of stuff about it.
Nice.
Looks like Toriyama has also done lyrics for songs in a lot of the games he's worked on. The 13 trilogy, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Mobius Final Fantasy.
Nice.
Interesting. Not much has happened to me. The main thing is that I am scheduled to be formally assessed for ADHD, which is exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping for a positive result, because if it's a negative result, then it's like, well,
what
now
the fuck then?
What's wrong with me then? So, but we'll see. Either way, I'll have information, I guess.
Yeah. My week has been weird. So as I discussed last week, me and Summer broke up like 3 months ago now. But those 3 months were all when it's hot, and in the north they don't believe in air conditioner. So the only air conditioner we had was in our room. So we were still sharing a room, but now it's cold, so we are no longer sharing the room. And I volunteered to have the pullout be my bed, which has been weird and odd, and like in a weird like capitalist sort of mindset. It's very weird that I pay for this house and I'm the one without a bedroom, but that's not what I do. I pay for my family to have a house, and everything lines up for how the family does. And so I'm not like mad that I have the couch or whatever, but that does mean I am now in the market for things to make the living room be a nerdy bachelor pad, but also not take away from the fact that it is a family room for a family half of the day. So like stealth nerdy things like we have carpet everywhere, so it wouldn't be this, but like a throw rug that's like Argyle, but the Argyle is lightsabers, those sorts of things. So if you
nerd,
yes, if you have any ideas or cool things like that to nerdify a living room, I am game, because I am trying to make the best of it, and interior design is a great way to make a living situation that is less than ideal be a little bit more ideal. But along those notes, my gaming chair that I had that I saved from the side of the road decided to unsave itself, and it basically broke in half. The way it was built, the arms keep the back on. So when one of the arms broke, it just kind of fell back into bed. So I posted on Nextdoor to ask all the boomers if anybody had an office chair or knew of any offices that were closing, because most of the time it's more expensive to move all of your office equipment than it is to just buy new ones. So they basically throw them away. And so somebody let me know if they see anything like that, yada, yada, yada. And somebody was like, oh, I have this gaming chair that's really comfortable that I don't need anymore, that you can come and get. And so I went and I grabbed that one today, and it's fine. It will work. But like 20-30 minutes ago, someone was like, I have this old Steelcase Leap that I got from my law firm that I don't need. You can have that one for free. So yeah, it's not the Leap, it's the Drive, I think. So it's not like super fancy, but it is a steel case, so it's very, very high quality. And I'm super stoked on that one. And I will report back if I actually get it and if it's amazing next week. But
you know, gaming chairs, you know what I've been thinking about recently?
What?
This chair that I just put in now playing. That chair that...
Oh, God. Not the fucking rocker.
Everyone has sat in that chair.
And no one has liked it.
That was my computer chair for a while, not because I purchased it, not because I liked it, but because I somehow acquired it and needed a chair, and that was my chair.
Who would purchase this? Where do they come from?
I don't know. Yeah, no, that shit sucked. That was my programming chair back when I lived in where was it actually? Weirdly enough, I can't visualize where I was when I would have been sitting in this chair, but I was somewhere.
Yeah. Back in May-ish was the neighborhood-wide garage sale, and there were so many places that on the like group, the website before, and they're like, oh, what we're going to have is like, we have gaming chairs. And I was like, well, I need one because prior to the one that I saved from the side of the road that just broke, my old one also had broke. And so I was looking for them, and every single time when they said they had a gaming chair to sell, it was one of these. None of them actually had a real gaming chair. They were all just these fucking wooden rocker things, and I have no idea how they became so ubiquitous because they've never been comfortable. But the last thing that's going on in my life is it's RPG Limit Break week. If you like GDQ, but you only like RPG speedruns, you should watch RPG Limit Break. I have not actually tuned in yet. I must have missed when they went live 2 days ago, because today I was just looking at like my YouTube videos to watch for the day, like my subscriptions, and I saw the VODs, which are 2 days old. And I was like, oh, well, shit. But yeah, I forget what they raise money for. I should have known since I was shouting them out. But yeah, I'm excited to watch a lot of these. My favorite thing about RPG Limit Break is catching it live, because I will never watch the VODs because RPG speedruns are like 6 hours long. So I will watch whatever's on and not feel guilty about not watching anything else, because ain't nobody got time for that. But yeah, I think that's everything that's not about Crusader of Centy that I want to talk about. So let's listen to some music from Crusader of Centy and then talk about the plot. So when we last left off, we had just traveled to Frisia Island to get a seed for a tree to grow at the top of the Tower of Babel so that we can get up to the city in the sky. And we did that, but then we had to fight our way through a submerged castle thing to get back to the dry land. And we fought a Leviathan boss, and they joined our party. So now we head back to the Tower of Babel. However, this time the elevator that I laughed at last time is broken, so we have to climb it the old-fashioned way. And before we go up, our caterpillar buddy says that nature calls and he must pupate. So he stays behind at the bottom of the tower.
We had gotten this caterpillar while we were a slime, or right when we finished being a slime. And it was hilarious because the caterpillar was like, I can't do anything, but I am moved by your quest and must join you. And when you selected the caterpillar from the menu, the description just said useless.
Yep.
But now he stays behind and pupates. So when you climb the tower, it has a lot of cool puzzle rooms, and one dumb one that isn't that dumb, but I was dumb, and the room is just empty, and one of the tiles doesn't match the pattern. So you jump on that tile to move forward, and I felt really stupid that I didn't figure that one out, and I had to look it up. But you eventually make it to the top of the tower, and you plant the seed, and it grows super fast like a Mario, and we Mario up to heaven, apparently. It's called, if you go back to it on the map, it's called Saint Heaven. So, yeah. Everyone there is talking about peace and love, and they all wear matching white robes, and they're floating off of the ground. Maybe they're angels. I don't know.
The character says that here they can talk about peace, and they don't say peace and love like you just said. They say other words, but essentially that, right? Like, yeah, here I can talk about, peace and harmony and shit, and without being called a geek.
Yeah. If we make our way to the back of the city, it's of course a dungeon, and it's really cool.
Rules.
Yeah,
I love
this half of the game. Man, they really decided that this game is just all dungeons now, and they're all really like real dungeons. Not like you're going through a place and there's just kind of some shit in it. It's like capital D dungeons for the rest of the game, and they're fucking good.
Mm-hmm. This one has a whole lot of like jumping puzzles, and they're like super interesting ones, and you have to like do them in the right order and go back and loop around on yourself. It's great. I really liked it. At the end of the dungeon, it hangs a lantern on the whole "you're not a hero, you're just doing things because you're in a game" that's been happening so far. And a dragon named Malda comes up and is like, "You're brave and stupid for following along with everything and not knowing what you're doing, but it is I who shall open the gate." Then we fight him, and he's a really hard boss. You can kind of cheese it because they didn't have an animation for him to turn around. So if you get behind him, he's easier to hit, but he has a sword and a shield and a breath attack, and he's a dragon that can fly around the stage. And most of the stage at this point has fallen out, so it's kind of hard. But when you kill him, he explodes into fucking tiny pieces, and he never gets to tell us what his whole deal was for being the antagonist for the first half of the game.
Yeah, I was like, who are you, and why am I fighting you? I apparently you're acting like we've met before.
Yeah, he's like, "You've fallen into my trap," but instead of monologuing, he fights us, and then we kill him. So we never got to figure out what the trap was or why he trapped us.
I was thinking this is another example of Maddie Grace is dumb, and I don't know, whenever she plays these games, her brain's already too dead from the other shit going on in her life that she just misses basic plot information. But apparently it's the same for y'all too, so that's nice.
Yeah, the whole rest of this game delivers the plot to us, but it doesn't necessarily ever explain it, including one later that cracked me up, so we'll get to it. But so we go up to this gate that apparently we were here to open, and Malda was definitely trying to open it, and so we talk to it, and it tells us its whole deal. And it says, "Foolish humans, I have tested you to teach you a valuable lesson. I took away your ability to talk to other humans and gave you a tie with animals and monsters. I thought that history tainted by human fighting in battle would change, but it proved to be a waste. Moreover, you have tainted this peaceful place as well. I shall return your language to you, but what is important is not the words, but to embrace that which you know is true in your heart. Look from the other's point of view, and it will be clear like a fountain. I shall give the final judgment to those who cannot see." who cannot see this. Now is the time to change history. The laws of nature will exist no more. The crusade of Centy shall come to an end. Come to know the depth of man's sins. Which means something, I'm sure. The gate opens and we're transported back to the bottom of the tower. Now we can talk to humans, but where it transports us to, we can't get out. But thankfully, our pupa friend is now a butterfly, and when he joins us, he gives us the power to steer our sword after we throw it. So we can use that to escape, and then the game kind of opens up and doesn't really tell us what to do. I think is pretty cool. If we notice, there's a snow cloud over Iris Forest right now, but since we're super powerful, we can go talk to the king and get our 3 medals from the training ground and get a sword upgrade. I don't know if it's needed or not, but the walkthrough and the Let's Play both do it right here at this time. So maybe there's something like...
Yeah, I kind of figured it was, and I also did it here just because I didn't know what else to do, and was like, as you helpfully mentioned last week, this is technically the only plot of the game. Like, literally, it's like, I want to become a real hero and get the sword. Oops, I can't, because I can't talk to humans anymore. I guess I'll just go do something else. Like, everything that's happened in the game so far has just been a killing time because we can't actually get our fucking medals. So, and if you hadn't said that, I wouldn't have thought of that. But now I'm like, I guess I'll go get my medals again. And also, you know, now that you can talk to humans again, the idea is like, oh my gosh, you can talk to humans again, go around all those towns. We just went through like 10 different towns and talked to all the NPCs that we couldn't talk to before because they were all just saying like asterisk, asterisk, exclamation point, right? I mean, the ones that aren't animals, of course, which isn't actually a lot of them, but whatever. There's still a decent number of humans here and there. But yeah, I did it first as well. I think maybe I did something else first, but I did it pretty early on. And at no point after that did I find a point where it's like, no, you need this sword. So
yeah, I'm not sure.
Maybe there's like a boss at some point where it's like, it's no use. You can't hurt the boss because you don't have the sword or something. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. You eventually do go back to Iris, where now it's snowing inside of the forest. And if you make your way to the human village, you hear rumors of a cyclone that will take people back to the past. And specifically, there's an old lady there that says that she did it, but she came back to the present using her magic shoes that she keeps in the pond near the town, but they have recently been stolen.
They were stolen long ago. That's important.
Stolen long ago. Like one screen north, conveniently, there's a flower that tricks us into walking into a cyclone that takes us back to the past. And the chest that we can see by the pond is not empty, but we can't get to it. You can't like jump over there to reach it in time or reach far enough. So you venture into the forest to the animal village, where we find an armadillo whose special power is he can be a raft at any time, anywhere. I didn't mention it, but in several of the dungeons, there have been like rafts you have to like physically pick up and keep track of to do some jumping puzzles. And now we don't have to keep track of them anymore. We have a buddy to do that. We use him as a raft to get across the pond and get the magic shoes. And now we go back to the present, which doesn't solve anything about it randomly snowing in the lava forest. But I'm guessing because of what the gate said, it goes back to normal if you stop the gate from whatever it's trying to do. If you beat the game, it doesn't let us go back to check. But it's very weird that like the only thing wrong that leads us to what we're doing is not resolved. But then when you get back to the world map, there's now a cyclone out in the desert. So we go there, and it's different now. Apparently,
it's weird because you go to the desert, and it's just different. It's not like you go to the desert and you're in the cyclone, and then new desert. I wandered around the desert for a while, being like, were these people here before?
Yeah,
Or
I actually didn't get the whole time until I got to one of I think the area after the desert that you're going into the past. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like the first time you go into the past, it's obvious the graphics are all different, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's like you just go into the area in the world map, but you're actually in past version of area. Okay.
Yeah, and if you leave the world map, you're not in the past of the whole world. It's just that one area. So
Yeah.
we also were just in Iris, which was in the present and snowing and was different. So the fact that
Yeah. So for Iris, you had to explicitly go to the present, find out what your quest is, go to the past, fix it. Now
Mhm.
after that point, for every area after that point, it's like they just skip that first step.
Yeah, and
It's really weird.
it took me, I think, all the way until Soleil, where the plot is that you're back in time, before I really put it together that was everything that was happening. It was different now. But so in the desert, there's a castle to the west that wasn't accessible in the present, but now it is in the past. And when you get inside, there's a witch trial going on because a girl was able to open the sealed chamber and no one else can. So obviously she has magic. And she's like, I just had some awakening powder on me, and the door opened in front of me. And they're like, well, the awakening powder is locked in a room that can only be accessed by going to the 7th floor. And surely no human could make that trek. So obviously you're a witch. So
I think it's pretty important to note that they are saying she's a monster, not a witch, since monster is an established concept very important to the story.
True,
and the whole thing is about the conflict between monsters and humans, not humans and human witches.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that while playing it at all. So there's that for you. But yeah, we are human, so we make the trek to the 7th floor pretty easily. This dungeon, I think, is another one that feels very Zelda-y. Like the last dungeon was great, but didn't feel like a Zelda dungeon. This one felt like a Zelda dungeon, much like the ice dungeon from last week. And there's one part that got me super stuck and made me rage a little when I figured it out. So there's a huge gap that is exactly one square too big to jump. So it makes you think you have to like jump exactly right to do it. And in this game, you can't accidentally fall off of a ledge. You have to jump off of a ledge. So if you are running full speed and you hit the ledge, it will stop you, which will kill all of your momentum. So I just thought I was doing it wrong, and I tried forever to make it work. And I was like, okay, fine, I have to find a switch or something. And I look everywhere. I backtrack through the entire dungeon, look for anything, and I look it up on the walkthrough. And apparently, Rico, our armadillo buddy, our movable raft, can be a raft in the middle of air, not just in water.
Yep. That's one of the main things I was going to bring up if you hadn't brought him up. Rico is I'll share Mimoms later, but yeah, because unless I spaced out, you didn't share how we got Rico, right? Like the actual what's going on with him.
Not like the cutscene.
Okay, because it's quite cute. I'll share it later. But yeah. Rico, he just is a platform. To me, it almost comes off like pure like too much game designer or programmer brain. It's like, no, man, he makes a platform you can walk on in an inaccessible area. And it's like, for me, from a programming game design standpoint, there's no difference between water and pit. They're the same thing. It's like, no, but
yeah,
okay.
Similarly, our dinosaur
or spikes.
Yeah, our dinosaur buddy who travels across water that we couldn't travel across. That can also be moving floors or spikes later on.
I mean, the description in the pause screen does say something about traversing danger areas or something.
Yeah. That one at least has a hint. Rico, I never would have thought to throw him into the pit.
I thought of it pretty immediately, but maybe that's because I'm stupid. I don't know. Maybe I just understand this game's dumb logic. But yeah, I can totally understand getting stuck on it. It's like, no, because we found him in water, right? So it's like, yeah, this guy chills out in water and you step on him. Silly.
And we never had to throw a raft into open air before.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Eventually we do get to the room with the awakening powder, and so we can fight the boss in the sealed chamber, who's named Chameleon and is a chameleon. Apparently he's behind everything the desert, but I didn't realize there was a problem in the desert. He also says that our awakening powder just woke him up, so I don't fucking know, but he's a boss.
I mean, the problem in the desert is that all these people are constantly accusing each other of being monsters and locking each other up and killing each other because of it.
Yeah.
We fight him. He dies. When he dies, he says that we're the real loser because we don't believe, and even if we defeat him, we cannot fix the real problem, so we cannot fix other people's hearts.
Yeah. So here's the thing: this game is all about how humans and monsters don't understand each other, and they don't understand each other. And you're supposed to be going back in the past to like fix it so that happens. But all you do is just murder more monsters.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's really weird. And then I thought maybe it was going to be more of a twist at the end, and then the end has an even worse twist that is honestly like politically and morally disgusting. Yes. This game is weird and makes me uncomfortable, and most of it made me uncomfortable in a good way, like in a fun art way. And then the ending happened, and I'm like, oh, that's just gross.
Yeah.
Game
pretty fun game though.
The game fucking rules, but what it's trying to say, it's like until the ending, it just seemed like incompetent, like they just were not succeeding in whatever they're trying to do. But then you get to the end, you're like, wait, is that the message of this game? What?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So apparently, the monsters keep telling us you need to understand monsters. You don't understand monsters, and we're just like, okay, I hear you. You're seen. You're valid. We're growing. We're learning. And you get to the next problem, and it's like, look, man, when you got a magic sword, every problem looks like a monster.
And every monster looks like a problem.
Every monster looks like a boss. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So when the chameleon dies, we find an ancient bird named Moa, and we awaken it with the awakening powder. He says that he wants to tell us the truth about monsters. If we can clear their misunderstandings, they may start believing each other. I don't know what they mean by that phrasing, and I've beaten the game, but okay. I know.
I think the secret to monsters is just that they're not evil, and the misunderstanding them refers to monsters, humans in general, just everyone. If we understood each other, we'd stop fighting. I think it's just something the game said a million times, just translated in a really dumb way.
Yeah. On our way out,
they keep treating it like it's a twist, and it's like you say this every other cutscene.
Yeah. So on our way out of the boss chamber, we're put on trial for being a monster because we opened the sealed chamber, and we're finally thrown in prison for a misunderstanding. So this is finally an RPG. This is probably the longest, at least percentage-wise, because the game's only like 2.5 hours long, but longest percentage-wise start to being thrown in prison that we've at least done on the podcast.
I will say it's done very undramatically. It's no Chrono Trigger, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. You escape from prison by like attacking the door because no one thought to do that before. There's like literally a dude dying inside. It's like, oh, I can't get out. And you just press the action button on the door and leave. But
they didn't take your sword away.
They didn't take your sword or your magical animal friends.
Guys.
So when we escape from prison, there's some dude who says he wants to travel east and start some life there. But the desert is at the far east of the map, so I have no idea what he's talking about or why it's important.
He's talking about the Oasis town that we suddenly get transported to.
Were there people in that town? I thought that was an animal village.
It's an animal village, but also I believe someone in the animal village talks about how someone in the past made this possible, and he uses the word oasis when he's talking about creating an area with life.
Yeah, the fact that we're automatically warped there just makes it really bizarre because you don't travel there, you just are there now. Very, very odd.
Yeah, well, it was apparently our quest to save him from prison, and that's why we went back in the past. So we win, I guess. So the tornado is now moved on to Hot Daisy, and this one I don't think is even a dungeon or a reworking of the past dungeon. I don't remember doing anything besides just walking into the boss chamber and doing the boss fight.
Yeah,
So
you pretty much just do that.
In Hot Daisy. Yeah, that's
In
what it
Burn
is.
Daisy, I believe.
Yeah, Burn Daisy, Hot Daisy, the lava dungeon. The boss is a puppet master who you have to whack his puppet before you whack him. It's whatever. He doesn't have any dialogue boxes when he dies. He just disappears, and we're back to the present. The dialogue box that pops up is like, oh, because you destroyed the puppet master, then this dungeon is disappearing. You did it.
I will say this boss is another very, very, very Sega Genesis boss.
Oh, yeah.
In the way that they're all floopy flopping around.
Mm-hmm. This one and the next Sega Genesis.
The next one is the real one. It's so good.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead, Bruno.
This boss, diegetically, he's created the tree stump and inchworm monsters that we've been fighting. And he says that he's the puppet master. He makes monsters out of inanimate objects, such as tree stumps and inchworms. And I'm like, excuse me? Inchworms are not inanimate objects. I have a buddy who used to be a worm. It was weird.
Whoop, being they worm.
Would you still be my podcast co-host if I were a worm?
Absolutely. So the
no.
So the next tornado is at an enemy beach, and when we get to the animal village, there's this old smelly monkey. It's important that he's smelly. And he's like, well, if we all work together, we could fight the Sega Genesis monster outside that's attacking us, and we would probably win. So go tell everyone in the town my plan so that we can all work together. So you talk to every person in the town, and every fucking one says, no, that's stupid. Not a single person says yes. And I thought that was hilarious.
This is my favorite part of the whole game, maybe. So this game, the back half of this game is very much structured like a Dragon Quest game, like Dragon Quest 3 or 6 or 7, and then it's very episodic. I mean, especially like 7 with the time travel thing. But like, it does have that, like, go to a place, they've got a problem, you fix the problem. Go to a place, they've got a problem, you fix the problem. The first half of the game didn't really have that, because every time you went to a place, your goal was really more just like going to the next place, kind of. Whereas in this, it's very much like, tell me your problem. Not only is this my favorite because of ideological reasons and political reasons that I'm sure are very obvious, but also it's easily the best written one of all of them. There's a clear problem. It's got a character in it that has a little arc. It's got a little bit of pathos. It's really good because he's like, if we all come together, we can fight and win and defeat the monster. And everyone's like, one character literally even says something like, my strength is, like, I'm very strong, but my strength is for me, not for others. Uh-huh. And it's sad. It's blunt, but it's very sad. And then, there's a character who's like the smelly monkey's like wife or whatever, and she's like, I'm really worried that smelly monkey is going to do something really rash. So they set up this little, this little plot detail that you have a hunch of what's going to happen, and then when it does, it's very emotionally affecting. It's a surprising degree of just good, coherent storytelling in a game that otherwise doesn't have any of that.
No, not at all. So you tell the smelly monkey that everyone hates him, and he's like, well, I guess it's just me then. And he charges off to fight the monster, and he gets wrecked. You walk out to follow him, and he is already like out cold, dead on the ground. He's not actually dead. If you investigate, you can tell that he's breathing or whatever.
I will say one important plot detail, not a plot detail, it's a detail, I guess, is in optional NPC here, one of the flowers does say something like, he fought extremely heroically and like was super, super strong and was completely kicking ass, but just still wasn't enough to kill the boss because he didn't have anyone with him fighting. And also, you basically need either a whole bunch of people or a guy with a magic sword. Like, if you don't have one of those two things, you're not going to be able to win. So I think it's cool that he's not just an idiot. He's like a powerful warrior.
Mm-hmm. So we go in to fight the monster for him, and this monster rolls around on the ground. On the Super NES, this would have been a Mode 7 boss, but the Genesis doesn't have Mode 7. What they do have is blast processing and a boatload of sprites. So instead of being tiled on the ground is made of just like a shitload of sprites that vector man together to like compress on one side and stretch on the other to like move around in 3D space to imply like each of the 4 directions that the battlefield can tilt, and you like slide to that direction, and it's fucking cool.
To be slightly more clear on the actual effect, because Sam, you're totally right on the technical specifics of it, but just so that the forest doesn't get lost for the trees, you're on a giant concrete slab, a giant rectangle, and it literally just is tilting and turning in 3 dimensions. It like tilts to the left, tilts to the right, it tilts back like on the Z-axis, right? Like, oh, it's so fucking cool. It's the most Sega Genesis shit. It's weird that we're saying this is very Sega Genesis when it's exclusively the Genesis doing a thing that the console can't fucking do, and it would be a lot more sensible to do it on the Super Nintendo. But that's just Genesis mindset. Like that's Mega Drive brain.
Yeah, and I tend to prefer the like way the Genesis would bend over backwards to try and be as cool as Mode 7 than Mode 7. I think Mode 7 has not.
It often ends up looking actually cooler. Yeah.
Yeah. But after the battle itself is not hard. The boss does not have attacks. No. He just tries to knock you off. So you just throw your sword at him like 7 times. But after the battle, the monkey's corpse is gone, and apparently the village all teamed up together to save him while we went and fought the monster. So they all learned the power of friendship anyways, and it's super cool. And I love it. They then decide they should be a monarchy, and the monkey and his descendants will always be chief, which is kind of the worst thing to come from this.
Did they say the descendants thing?
Yeah.
No.
Well, no, but if you talk to the chief in the present, he says that my ancestor was super brave and became chief, and that's why I'm chief now. So.
I will say they say that he's going to be the leader, and they all decide he should be their leader. And while you're right that you could interpret that later dialogue line that way, and in fact I hadn't really thought about that. To me it really seemed more like we're all here now because of his sacrifices. The fact that this character is the descendant of the great leader, well, I think it's like we all learned a lesson. We all learned about like I'm being brave, like my ancestor was, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that we're now a genetic family line of leaders. Although if it was, I mean, no big deal. The story is still really, really great anyway. But I interpreted it as differently than that.
Yeah, and we have to remember that we're in fantasy stories, so it's not the fact that kings are inherently wrong. It's that good kings are good.
Yeah, monarchies are good.
Yeah, monarchies are good if your monkey is a good monkey.
Monarchies are good. You'd know this if you played Trails in the Sky.
Yes.
Okay. But yeah, it definitely is like a Dragon Quest VII kind of thing where it's like the town's problem was that they didn't have, they didn't work together, and they didn't have they didn't have like a solidaristic mindset. And now they've all learned that was stupid, and now in the future they don't have that problem anymore. And the town in the future, you imagine they probably work together and understand the value of self-sacrifice because the culture of this community has been changed from now on, which is really, really cool.
Yeah. So now in the present, the cyclone is over Dahlia Valley. So we go there in the past, and there is a cave that is 100% very obviously a Jabu Jabu. It like has eyes and teeth, not even trying to hide it, and a horn, and we walk inside anyways.
Yep.
The dungeon is cool. It's fine. But the boss is just a fucking heart. It doesn't have any attacks. You just...
This one feels bad.
You just kill it.
Yeah.
It's not even like trying to stop you, you just kill it. So then the Jabu Jabu talks to us, and its name is Mother Monster, and it says, "Why do the humans hate us so?"
Lady Gaga.
Yes. It says, "Why do the humans hate us so? Is the land for humans only? A world ruled by humans is good, and a world with monsters is bad? Is that it?" So we go outside, and the Jabu Jabu is dead now, and its horn fell off, so we take its horn and go back to the present. The cyclone makes it to Soleil, and we go inside, and the king is being harassed by monsters. We do literally nothing at all, and the monsters run away, and the king says, "Thank you, you saved me." We leave, and we...
Well, he does say that we're so scary, and maybe at this point we're famous for being a monster killer or something. Wouldn't surprise me. He says that your presence made the monsters so scared they ran away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But importantly, we didn't have to actually do anything. They just ran away.
We did nothing.
Yeah. So we leave and find, we go to the chapel, and the monsters are all hiding inside. They were like, "We didn't do anything. The humans just imprisoned us because we're monsters, and the humans are racist against monsters and wouldn't even listen to us. We tried to talk to the king, but he just kept screaming that we were attacking him, and he wouldn't listen to us. And so we gave up and left." So we go to leave the chapel, and the guards are like, "Oh, are the monsters in there?" So they run in and fucking murder the monsters. And they even talk about how they didn't fight back, and some of them begged for their lives and were crying. So we continue on our quest to rid the world of monsters in order to save humanity. We decide to help the bad guys, I guess. So we go and talk to the king, and he promises to dedicate the fountain in the plaza to us, which is why at the beginning it talks about young heroes be brave, raise their sword. That's why we're on our quest to begin with, is because we turned 14 and heroes raising their sword became the thing for this place. So after that, the cyclone moves to the lake in the middle of the continent, which is a new place. When we get there, it takes us back to a long fucking time ago, to a time called the Black Night, which is the day that the monsters first came to the world. We do a dungeon. It's pretty long, and we happen upon some monsters at the end who introduce us to the concept of the spirit energy, and they don't say what it is. They just ask us to kill it. We then can talk to Mother Monster, who would have made sense to talk to her first. She's there, but she's a small lizard now instead of a big Jabu Jabu. But she recognizes the horn in our inventory, and she's like, "What the fuck?" And then, and I quote, "We tell her the story quietly, the world of light, lives that were born, and the history that happened." Great.
And that history sure did happen.
Yep. This is one of the few times that we suddenly get an omniscient narrator out of somewhere, and the narrator basically is like, "Your character understands what's going on, and that's good enough. Moving on." So Mother Monster apparently hasn't heard of humans before. The monsters haven't even met the humans yet. She's not even sure that life forms besides monsters even really exist. She also hasn't heard of the concept of light before, because their world, everything is in darkness. So she doesn't even know what we're talking about when we talk about the world of light. She says, "When this planet was born, there was an explosion which affected our world. When we came back to our senses, we were blown to this world. We tried our best to get back to our world, but the gate to our world was sealed with some sort of powerful energy. We could not get the gate to budge." An omniscient narrator suddenly exists and says that monsters were blown here, unable to return, and did nothing wrong. And humans are just racist and thought that monsters were evil, so monsters ended up hating humans and fought against them for so long. We realize that this is fucked up, and we ask Mother Monster how we can help. Mother Monster asks us to kill the spirit energy that's blocking the gate, even though none of them have been able to do so without dying. We then get a boss rush because the spirit energy is guarded by the embodiment of the five senses for some reason. And all these boss fights are really cool.
Yeah.
The Pac-Man one isn't very cool.
No, it's not.
Again, I'm realizing more than any of the individual bosses, the main thing that makes this game so Sega Genesis-y, or so like even like I dare say Treasury, is that it's like these guys just wanted to make a lot of bosses. They just really wanted to make bosses. The rest of the game is just
A vessel for
it's
bosses.
just there to happen in between the bosses. And at this point, they've run out of game, and they're like, here's 5 more.
Yeah.
And they're all so inventive. They're none of them are throwaway. They're even the ones that are bad. They're not throwaway. They're all so inventive and fun and weird.
Mm-hmm. None of the bosses, not even the final boss, have a single line of dialogue. So we kill them all, and then the gate to the underworld opens, and it sucks all the monsters back into their world and erases them from our history. So we're sent back to the present, and I'm presuming that it's the gate in heaven that like kicked us off on the second half of our quest. It's a omniscient voice that's referred to only as a star : so like the name section is only a asterisk. But it says that he changed his mind about humanity, and because we were able to go back and stop all the monster bloodshed throughout history, he has judged us worthy or something. And but he begs us to remember that humans are not alone in this world, and we should never forget that. We then get a victory lap where we can go all the way across Soleil and talk to all the NPCs there and see all the things that are different. Most notably, they don't value heroes anymore. They value the goddess of light and being nice to people. But if you talk to everyone and you try to leave the town, Alice, a character that I'm sure existed at the beginning of the game, was one of the people at your birthday party. I don't know. She says she has something important to tell us, but she'll tell us when we get back, implying that like she loves us or whatever. But then we go on the same adventure of the game again to go get all of our animal friends, but we do it during the credits, and it's cute. And that's the end of the game.
Yeah, that's not a good way to fix the problem.
No.
Yeah,
I
I
was-
was like, so wait, we didn't like make them understand each other. We didn't make the humans not be evil. We just took away the I don't know.
Well, when you fight the big lizard, she literally says you can't blame humans because the thought of monsters being evil is human nature. Which is upsetting. Earlier this year, I think it's actually the first book I read this year. It was this book called Jay, and it was a book that had been on my bookshelf for ages. I hadn't gotten around to reading it. You know, I bought it at a bookstore. It was like on sale and something, and had some reviews that said it was good. Right. I won't go into the plot of the book too much, but it basically is about a dystopian future, very well, wonderfully written and fascinating dystopian future. I will say a lot of the details are really like, oh, that's interesting, right? But you end up finding out that there's some horrible tragedy that happened not that long ago. We're talking like your parents probably went through it, or maybe your grandparents, like not that long ago. And one of the major things is that they don't talk about what it was. And they never tell each other what it was, and no one knows what it was, and they rigorously police any mention of what it was. And then it ends up going on, and it gets pretty fucked up and weird. In the end, it turns out it was like very literally like Holocaust too. And the author is Jewish. I did look this up because it'd be way more fucked up if he wasn't. But by the end, the plot basically, and at this point, like after the tragedy, everyone changed their names and erased all their history of their like ethnicity. So no one knew if anyone originally was, you know, was a Martinez or had like a German sounding name or a British sounding name or like a Jewish sounding name, right? The two main characters find out that they're like the two only Jews in the entire world that exist anymore. And long story short, the book ends with a very strong profession of, it's very dark. I freaked out when I got to the end of the book. It was very upsetting to me. It was very dark. And the book seemed, maybe I misunderstood it, but it seemed like the end of the book was like, no, Jews are fundamentally like the universal other and always will be. And there's something about them that makes them the other. And they will always be persecuted no matter what once this is found out because of some ontological fact of their existence. And that freaked me the fuck out, not just because of how dark it is, but that's also like Zionist ideology. That's the ideology behind Zionism. So it freaked me the fuck out. Anyway, this game's the exact same plot.
Yeah. It's bad.
Yeah, the only way. It's just ethno-nationalist is what this game is. It's the only way for the monsters not be persecuted is for them to not be here anymore because we just can't possibly get along. Man, that's dark.
Yeah, it reminds me of like middle school dress codes are because no one will tell boys to not be horrible people. Instead, they have to make super strict dress codes because boys will be boys and be horrible people. And it's kind of like that with humans and monsters. It's not, hey, you should talk to the humans and explain the differences and everyone get along. It's no. We have to just take you away from everything because humans are evil and you saved them. And now you have to go and live with the evil people instead of like also going to the other world and letting the humans rot.
Yeah. And also the, what was I going to say? Oh, there is a little bit of justification why we keep murdering monsters. It's subtle, it's badly written, but it is there. I forget when it happens, if it's optional or required dialogue, but there's some stuff about how, like, no, like, some monsters are good and some monsters are bad. So it's like, the bad monsters we were killing were bad, and they were just causing trouble, but what humans don't understand is that monsters are diverse and varied, and they're thinking all monsters are evil when really these couple of guys are just like jerks, which isn't very good, and we can get into that. We could theoretically get into that more, but I don't think we're going to. But at least there is some explanation, right? It's like, oh, okay, you're not killing the guys that you should be talking to, understanding. You're killing different guys. And however, also, this is still never resolved, and the ending is the way the ending is.
Yeah, and it also talks about how, like, so in the original timeline, Mother Monster and them can't go through the door, so they branch out. The bad dudes attack the humans. The humans are like, all monsters are bad. So then humans try to genocide the monsters. So the monsters, by the time we get to our time, have like they hate humans because humans are trying to genocide them. And so the average monster you run into is quote unquote evil, if evil is try to kill every human they come across. But the twist is that it's because humans are horrible and deserve to be fought.
You know what game that we've played also did that? I just realized Legend of Dragoon. If I'm remembering correctly, not as horribly or upsettingly, but like, didn't it kind of have like the like hidden village of whatever kind of people? And it's like, yeah, we're here because the humans were shitty to us, and now I have to live here, but also now we're being shitty.
I think.
Yeah, I think it did. It was only the Winglies, yeah, and it was like kind of like a both sides kind of thing, but it's like, well, no, y'all are mad for a very legitimate and valid reason, but it's like, oh, we gotta understand each other. It was done relatively sloppily and not nearly as fucked up as this game. But I'm just thinking it's interesting how we see these connections between games.
Mm-hmm. One thing I did think was kind of cool though, and the only thing about this ending, and only because of the way it reflects to gameplay, is when we go to the final dungeon of the game, we're going back in time before the monsters hated humans. So there are no random mobs in the final dungeon of the game. It's all just puzzle. There's nothing that can hurt you that's not spikes on the floor.
I hadn't even thought about it. That's really cool.
Because the monsters don't hate you yet. So why would they fight you? All the monsters you run into are NPCs and you talk to them, which is kind of cool. But gameplay wise, not writing wise. But that was the only mom that I have that I didn't bring up along the way. Does anyone have any other? Oh, Maddie, you wanted to talk about Rico's cutscene.
Oh yeah. Did I screenshot it? I feel like I freaking screenshotted it. Maybe I didn't. Anyway, yeah, it's Rio Armadillo, and it's not like it's that much or anything, but you find him, and he's chilling in the water, and there's a raft nearby, so you throw the raft so that you can jump on the raft so that you can be next to him and talk to him, and he says something along the lines of, like, hey, man, I was just trying to chill. Like, he's annoyed with you for, like, bugging him, but then he's like, ooh, who are all these people with you? This looks fun. And he comes with you. So I really like how he doesn't really like you at all. Like, he's annoyed with you. But then he's like, oh, looks like a party here. Look at that. Because at this point, you've got like a dozen animals with you or more. Mm-hmm. So, like, he just sees a bunch of people partying. He's like, this looks like a hopping scene. What are you here? You're a hero? You're trying to save that? I don't care about that. I just want to hang out with all these other guys.
Well, I'm glad you didn't finish that question because I wouldn't have a coherent answer to it.
Oh, right, exactly, yeah. Yeah, if he asked you why should I join your party, it's like if you ask all the other animals, so what are we doing here? They're like, I don't know, man, but like, you know, we all have a real good time. Did y'all get the raccoon?
Yes.
I didn't. But
the raccoon's fun. There's a weird fucking quest when you get back to your town after being able to talk to humans again. You go into a building and your mom's there, but here's the thing, that's not the building your mom's normally in. And you're like, hi, I bought a house. Also, can you give me $10? And you can say yes or no. I said yes. I forget what happens. And at first nothing really happens, but then you go back to your town and your mom is your house and your mom's like, I would never buy a house. And then she says something, and then you go back, and so if you go back and forth like 5 times, it gets increasingly weirder and weirder. And then I wish I had more screenshots, but I don't, because I didn't realize, I don't know, I didn't think it was as interesting as it really was. But then you finally you go back to the new place with your mom, and the spoiler, your mom gets is pissed at you and is like, I can't believe you would attack me with your dog. Oh yeah, that's right, because your mom had said, hey, I haven't seen the dog in a while. Could you bring him? So then you go to other mom and it's like, I can't believe you would attack your own brother with a dog. And then someone else, one of your party members, I think, points out like, your mom would never say that. Your mom loves the dog. And that's when it turns out that your mom was a shape-shifting raccoon character who joins your party and can turn into you and become a dummy so that enemies will attack the dummy instead of you. It's just a very strange little side quest. It's totally out of nowhere, and I liked how they did it because this whole game has a problem with being like very undramatic. They don't dramatize anything. Things just kind of happen. But in this case, it plays to the game's favor because it's just so odd and cute that it just sort of happens. And you're like, okay, mom is here, but also there, huh? And it's not clear at first that it's an imposter situation. At first I thought that the whole town maybe had been replaced by like a mirage town or something, not, like Moonside or something. I didn't think like, oh, this is an imposter mom that's fucking with me. I don't know. It's neat. And then one other one that I had was just a few lines. When you get to that town, the place that what we actually talked about, we have to help while all the animals don't want to help save the day with the old smelly monkey. The exact line he says when he asks you to help persuade everyone to work together, he says, "You have a fine sword there, sir. Can you please persuade them for me?" Which, what they mean is, all of these characters you talk to, they'll say like, "Oh wow, you got a big sword. You must be a warrior. Oh, you want me to fight with you? No, I'm not going to." So what he means is you can use your magical sword to inspire people with your strength But it just seemed like he's like, man, these guys are not going to do what I want them to do. You've got a sword. Can you persuade them? It's not that he wants you to like violently persuade them to do the right thing. I thought it was a very silly line of dialogue. And that's it. That's all I got, actually. Oh, wait, one more, sorry. Remember the like faux hero who was like got his sword just before we did, and we see him around being like a hero and stuff, but sometimes we would solve puzzles for him and he'd be like, look, I solved the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
When you go into the dungeon of the castle, he's in there and he's locked up. And the guard he says a couple of lines, but I only screenshotted one. He's like, he's a bit too feisty. I think he made a mistake being born in this age. So it's like, yeah, this guy who's like the ultimate badass hero doesn't have a place to live in this new reality created where humans aren't violent anymore because the monsters are all gone. It was it's actually pretty cute. Political implications notwithstanding. So, but that, as Sam said, that you get that story in every town. That's the story of the whole town of the whole city of the whole world humans just aren't into being violent, killing each other anymore. They don't valorize heroes. But yeah, you see the guy who was the hero literally thrown in jail. He's just too fucking rambunctious.
So you talking about how we had a party with all of these animals, and that's why Rika wanted to join us, reminded me of the fact that the game doesn't do anything with the fact that the first half of the game we are on we can't talk to humans anymore, so we're going to pal around with animals and see that people are different are just as important. Like the moral that we learn on the first half, which equips us to do the second half, is never brought up. The whole go in and have all these animal friends thing.
Yeah. The content of the plot is so strong. It totally could have been like, first you're a human and you're raised to fight monsters. Then you can only now talk to animals and monsters and learn that they're actually valid and not evil. Then after you've gone through that journey, you get your powers back. Now you can talk to humans and monsters, and now you go on a time travel journey where you realize the whole world is built on a lie, and you go back in the past and you fix it, and you teach people that they don't have to be this way anymore. It's such a great concept, and it's like the people who wrote it's like the people who wrote the like 5 cutscenes in this entire game that lay out that plot I just said weren't talking to the people writing the rest of the game who just thought this game was about killing bad monsters or something.
Yeah, it could have done, like, even if all the times where you go back to the past, if there would have been an animal that you talk to that helps you solve the thing that changes the future for the better or whatnot.
Yeah.
So, like, you go back in time, and if you only could talk to humans, you wouldn't be able to change anything. But since you can now talk to animals, they tell you the plot thing that changes, and now you made the future better. Like, that would have been enough. But no, the fact that you became friends with the animals, even though they're different from you, just isn't brought up, and it's very relevant to the plot. You would think they would bring it up.
And yet, like, I keep saying how this plot's so, like, loosely sketched out, and it says there's, like, 5 lines of dialogue. It's actually not true. The game has a lot of stuff in it. It's got a lot of stuff about people not understanding each other, about the reasons why people are violent, about people's hopes and dreams for the future, about the effect violence has on people, or it's actually got quite a lot. It's just the game is ignoring itself. It's so odd. I'm kind of fascinated by this game. It reminds me so much of both Secret of Evermore and Terranigma in terms of its pacing, its tone, some of its game design, and even it's got the kind of same kind of high-minded, weirdly, like, esoteric philosophical plot content that you get from, like, Terranigma or Illusion of Gaia, and yet it's just like the idiot's version of that.
Yeah. What a weird game. I'm glad that we played it. It would have been annoying to play a good game instead.
Yeah, and luckily, again, especially in the back half, the dungeons are killer.
Yeah. Yeah, the first half had a lot of like, this area was really big and nothing happens till you get to the end, but this back half had a lot of its own brand of dungeon and like 2 or 3 Zelda-y dungeons thrown together, and it was good. I enjoyed it. Anything you want to say about this game before we stop talking about this game, Bernard?
I think we've had enough of 3 white people talking about race and racism and how those things should be resolved.
And on that note, that'll do it for the week. If you like what you heard today and you want to help us offset the costs of running the show, head on over to www.rpgbook.club, where any and all donations are put back into the show to make it better and offset hosting costs and game costs and stuff like that. If you donate $1 or more a month, you'll get access to our Book Club no Kaseki episodes a month before everyone else, as well as be able to vote on our polls and that decide what game we play next. Except this time of year, you don't actually get to pick. We instead sell out and play games that boost our SEO. And this year, we are selling out really hard and playing the RPG. In our most sellout way possible to end our Square moratorium, we are going to be playing Final Fantasy VII.
Let's fucking go.
I'm working on getting us a great guest host for that season. I just have to verify that their schedule works out, because I asked them like 6 months ago, so I have to make sure that it still works out. And if it does, it'll be probably our best season yet. So be sure to come back and check that out in about 2 weeks. Next week we're watching a movie. I don't know what movie it is.
Guest host Nobuo Uematsu. Also, Sam, fun fact, I've been thinking a lot about Final Fantasy VII recently, and the two of us have largely agreement about that game, but a decent bit of disagreement as well. But the one thing that we both agree on, that pretty much everyone agrees on, is that the whole back half of the game is really weirdly paced. Mm-hmm. Guess what? I've been thinking a lot about that game, including my girlfriend watched for the first time the entire Let's Mosey series by Tim Rogers. And this is not something Tim Rogers said, but it got me thinking about some original thoughts that I had. Anyway, I have some original theories about how the back half of the game actually is perfect. So I'm excited to make everyone annoyed with them.
Hell yeah.
To be clear, I haven't replayed the game. This is just something I've been thinking about while thinking about the game.
Yeah. It could be one of those things where you play it and you're like, no, never mind. That actually is stupid. But
maybe.
We'll see. If you decide to bump up your monthly contribution to $5 or more a month, you will also get your name shouted out at the end of every episode. And I am just now remembering that this is a thing that we do because I'm reading from a script and I don't have it ready to shout out the names. So
we do it literally every episode.
Every episode, you would think. Like, I even have, like, on my screen, I use Windows 11 Power Toys, which lets you make customized snapping things. And so I have my notes up, I have Craig up, and then a hole in my screen. And the hole in my screen is where I put the members. And I was like, what goes here? I guess I don't need anything right here tonight. So I'm leaving it empty because I'm stupid. Future Bernard, you can cut out as much of this as you want, or you can just let me roast myself. So shout outs to Bernie L. Taylor, Aaron524, Anthony Lerma, Vimk, Jfro Prime, Eliza Tantivi, and also shout outs to Doho. Then if you bump up your donation to $20 or more a month, we will not only read your name, but give you a 1-sentence shout out to whatever you want. The idea is for this to be for a URL for your Twitch stream or your YouTube channel, or the promo code for your ball shavers or whatever. But our current luminary, Carr, is a dentist, so his shout out is not for his Twitch stream, but for your own mouth. He asks that you brush your teeth twice a day, most importantly, the time right before you go to bed. For RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Hauk.
And I'm Maddie Grace Fleming.
Toodaloo, folks.
Goodbye, everybody.